Hey everyone, it's Rajiv and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I am going to be giving my book review of the new psychological thriller by Danielle Steel called The Dark Side. Before I start talking about the book, I would like to say that I post book-related videos and reviews regularly in my channel. So if you enjoy watching this video, then please do like and subscribe. So the story revolves around this woman named Zoe who has grown up without any love or affection. When Zoe was young, she had a younger sister named Rose, and Rose became very ill, so Zoe's parents used to focus all their attention on Rose, ignoring Zoe. Even though the family does their best to save Rose for quite a few years, unfortunately, Rose dies at a very young age, and the family cannot cope up with the loss and the grief, so they break apart. Zoe's parents divorce, and her father moves out, and Zoe's mother becomes a shell of her former self, and she becomes very secluded and does not give any attention to Zoe at all. But Zoe still remains very focused in her studies and she remains calm throughout the whole situation. And as she grows up, she becomes this very beautiful woman and she is very successful in her studies. And she also lands the career of her dreams in the non-profit world where she tends to disadvantage children. Then Zoe also falls in love with this man named Austin, and the two of them have this adorable baby named Jamie. So you might be thinking that the story is so hunky-dory and perfect till now, right? This is where the story starts to get interesting. Zoe is determined to be the perfect mother because she does not want her child to suffer the way Rose had suffered when she was young. However, the old scars that Zoe thought were behind her suddenly start creeping up on her, slowly pushing her more and more towards the dark side, hence putting her whole family at risk and in danger. I have not read Danielle Steel in such a long time, and I think I read her books when I was still in high school, and that was still back in the 90s when she was in the peak of her career. I usually don't like her style of writing. I mean, I used to when I was young because I wasn't exposed to books that much. But I recently picked out one of her books like 2-3 years back, and I didn't like it at all because the dialogue tend to be very repetitive. And for some reason, I feel like she is one of those machine-like authors who mass produces and releases like 6 to 8 books in a year. So a lot of her storylines are very cliched and have been told many times. But having said that, I was pleasantly surprised while I was reading The Dark Side because it was not actually as bad as I thought it would be. And I actually found it kind of interesting. The story starts off really fast where I think within the first 2 chapters itself, we get a synopsis of Zoe's life growing up. And whatever I described about the book in the beginning of this video is actually all covered in the first 2 chapters of this book. The pacing then slows down once Zoe marries Austin. So from this point to around 50% of the book, nothing significant actually happens in the story and it doesn't really go anywhere, but it is still interesting to see all the unfortunate things that start happening to Jamie. However, the story does pick up in the second half of the book, especially after the swimming pool incident, where you start to realize what is happening and the suspense keeps building up because you really don't know how it is going to turn out. I mean, okay, if you have read a lot of mysteries and thrillers, you'd kind of know how it is going to turn out, but it was still interesting to see how the pacing kept picking up and you see the protagonist trying to catch the culprit in the act before disaster happens. What I really liked about this book is how it talks about an illness that I had never heard about. And this is actually a real illness which people face. So I always love reading these stories where you learn something new psychologically and where the author is trying to spread awareness about a disorder which is, I guess, relatively new in the field. Coming to the characters, I thought Danielle Steel had defined the characters very well and they were very complex enough. And to be honest, even though I really don't like some of Danielle Steel's novels and her storylines per se, I always thought her characters were pretty strong. I especially loved reading about Zoe and I really liked her as the main character. And I thought she was so complex because In some of the scenes, you really feel sorry for her, but in other scenes, you just hate her guts and you just want to get rid of her. It was also very interesting to see how her mind works and how unstable she becomes and how she slowly starts losing control of the situation. But because she is so smart and she is so cunning, you still kind of don't know how she is going to react and what she will come up with next. But there are a few things which I thought could have been done better. For one thing, I thought the climax in the end was very disappointing. For all the build up that happens in the story towards the climax, I thought it would have ended in a more grandeur way. Also, and this is a very minor thing, but I really did not like the romance that suddenly happens between two of the characters at the very end in like the last 2 pages of the book. I'm not going to spoil anything here by saying who these characters are, but it was just so very strange where you think that the story is over and dusted, and right at the very end in like the last page, the author suddenly pairs these two characters in a romantic way just to end the story. But overall, The Dark Side is an interesting book to read, and I learned something new from reading it. And I like that the author stepped away from her natural element of writing these melodramatic, heart wrenching family storylines, and she decided to try her hand at writing a psychological thriller, which I thought she was not so bad at, and it was actually very interesting. So, for that reason, I would give this book a rating of 4 out of 5 stars. If you are a fan of Danielle Steel, or if you are a fan of psychological thrillers or mysteries which are not too scary, then I would highly recommend this book. Have you read any of the author's other books, and if so, which one was your favorite? Please do share your thoughts and comments on the section below, and again, if you enjoyed watching this video, then please do like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.